All right, Gooners, sit down, strap in, because this might be the single wildest transfer briefing we've had all summer. We've got a British transfer record on the table, we've got an exclusive breakthrough that's edging closer by the day, we've got a genuine, no-joke conversation about VINICIUS JR potentially wearing red and white, and we've still got Bruno Guimarães doing the rounds in the background like he's not even the headline anymore. If you'd told any of us in May that Arsenal's summer would look like this, we'd have laughed you out of the room. So let's get into it. Target by target, rumour by rumour, and I'll tell you exactly where I think this is all heading. Morgan Rogers, the £130 million. Question. Let's start with the name that's dominated every single Arsenal briefing for weeks, Morgan Rogers. Here's where we're at. Aston Villa have made their position crystal clear. If Arsenal want their man, they're going to have to smash the British transfer record to get him. Reports out of Villa Park have the valuation sitting north of £130 million. Let that sink in for a second. £130 million. For a player who, less than 18 months ago, was plying his trade in the Championship at Middlesbrough. Now look, I know what some of you are thinking. That's Kylian Mbappe money for a winger who's played 2 full Premier League seasons. But here's the context that matters. Rogers isn't just some hyped academy kid anymore. He's an established England international. He was part of the World Cup squad. He's been directly involved in a stack of goals across the last 2 campaigns. And by every account inside the building at Villa, he's become the heartbeat of their attack. Interestingly, Rogers himself has actually pushed back on the number. He's been fairly humble about it publicly, essentially saying he doesn't see himself as a £130 million footballer despite everything he's achieved. Which, credit to him, is a refreshingly grounded take in an industry where players usually let their agents do the talking on valuation. But here's the thing about Arteta and this recruitment team. When they lock onto a target, they don't back off easily. And the latest word from the camp is that personal terms are already moving in the right direction. Sources close to the deal are describing it as close on the player side. Arsenal see Rogers primarily as a long-term left-sided attacking option. Not a false 9, not a number 10, a genuine wide threat who can rip lines open the way Arteta wants his width to function. And there's a structural reason this move makes sense too. Leandro Trossard has been given the green light to finalise a switch to Besiktas. Gabriel Martinelli hasn't hit the heights we know he's capable of. 1 Premier League goal all last season is a stark number for a player of his talent. And Gabriel Jesus' long-term future at the club is genuinely up in the air. So the left flank at Emirates Stadium is about to look completely different, and Rogers is being lined up as the headline piece of that rebuild. The stumbling block, plain and simple, is the fee. Villa know exactly what they've got, and they know Arsenal, flush with Champions League revenue and desperate for firepower, are exactly the kind of buyer who might just pay it. Whether Arsenal are willing to break the British transfer record for a winger, even one this good, remains the biggest open question of the summer. My take? Watch the next 2 weeks closely. If Arsenal lodge an opening bid, and reports suggest one could land imminently, that tells you everything about how serious this really is. Tzolis exclusive. The quiet deal that's accelerating. Now here's where it gets spicy, because while everyone's been fixated on Rogers, there's a second attacking deal quietly gathering serious pace, and it's arguably just as important for the shape of this squad, Christos Tzolis. If you don't know the name yet, you will very soon. The 24-year-old Greek international spent last season absolutely torching defences for Club Brugge, 22 goals and 29 assists in 52 appearances across all competitions. Those numbers aren't a typo. That's genuinely one of the most productive attacking seasons anywhere in Europe last year, and it's why half the Premier League has suddenly taken notice. Here's how the deal has developed. Arsenal's opening approach, believed to be somewhere around the £55 million mark, was knocked back by Brugge, who simply aren't entertaining anything close to that as a starting point. Brugge know what they've got in Tzolis, and their asking price reflects a determination to land what would be a club record sale, beating the £32.5 million Charles de Ketelaere fee that AC Milan paid back in 2022. But the mood music is shifting. Multiple outlets are now reporting that a revised bid in the £65 million to £90 million range could be enough to get talks properly moving, and crucially, Tzolis wants this move. He's already made it known through his camp that a switch to Arsenal is exactly what he's after. And when a player is actively pushing for a transfer, that has a habit of accelerating negotiations far quicker than either club initially plans for. There's also a lovely subplot here for existing Arsenal fans. Tzolis actually featured against the Gunners in the Champions League last season, in the very match where Noni Madueke scored that outrageous long-range strike. So this isn't a complete unknown quantity walking into Emirates Stadium. Some of the current squad have already gone up against him at the highest level. What makes this deal fascinating is that it's not being treated as an alternative to Rodgers. It's running in parallel. Sources are describing Tzolis as essentially the long-term successor to Trossard on that left side, someone who can rotate and share the goal-scoring burden alongside a potential Rodgers arrival, rather than compete directly for the exact same shirt. Arsenal, it seems, aren't looking for one marquee left-sided signing this summer. They're building strength in depth at the very top level. Given Newcastle's situation elsewhere in this rumour mill has forced them to reconsider some valuations across their own business, there's a genuine sense growing around this one that Brugge might ultimately have to accept less than their initial demand, especially with the player already agitating for the exit. If Arsenal come back with anything in that £65 to £90 million range, don't be shocked if this is one of the very first deals across the line this summer. Vinicius Jr. Is this actually real? Okay, deep breath. Let's talk about the one that's made every Arsenal fan do a double take this week. Vinicius Jr. I want to be careful here because this is the kind of rumour that sounds almost too outrageous to take seriously at first glance. A Real Madrid Ballon d'Or contender, genuinely being linked with a move to Arsenal. But the noise around this has grown loud enough and consistent enough across multiple credible outlets that it's worth properly unpacking rather than dismissing outright. Here's the situation in Madrid. Vinicius has been embroiled in an ongoing standoff over his wage demands, and for the first time, there are genuine signals from inside the club that Real Madrid are beginning to accept he could actually leave this summer if those demands aren't met on his terms. That's a seismic shift from a club that has spent years building their entire forward line around him. And Arsenal, remarkably, are being named among a small group of Premier League clubs monitoring the situation closely, reportedly one of around 5 sides across Europe's elite keeping tabs on how this saga develops. Now let's ground this with some realism, because a move of this magnitude carries enormous complexity. We're talking about wages that would dwarf anything currently on Arsenal's books. We're talking about a release clause and transfer fee structure that would make even the Rodgers valuation look modest by comparison. And we're talking about convincing one of the best attackers on the planet that a project at Arsenal, however exciting, however ambitious, represents a genuine step forward from Real Madrid. But here's why it's not pure fantasy. Arsenal's financial position has transformed. Champions League football, a squad that's genuinely competing at the top of the Premier League, and a manager in Arteta who has shown he can attract elite talent when the project is convincing enough. If Real Madrid's stance genuinely softens and Vinicius becomes available on more realistic terms, Arsenal have positioned themselves, through sustained success on the pitch, as a club that can credibly be in that conversation. Is it likely? Right now, still a long shot. But is it dead? Absolutely not. And the fact we're even discussing Vinicius Jr. and Arsenal in the same sentence, with credible reporting behind it, rather than pure speculation, tells you everything about how far this club's ambition has shifted in the space of a couple of seasons. Keep this one on the back burner. Watch how Real Madrid's stance develops over the coming weeks. That will tell you far more than anything coming out of North London right now. Segment 4. Bruno Guimarães, still very much alive. Right, let's not forget about this one, because if anything, the Bruno Guimarães situation might be the deal that's moved furthest without anyone quite realising it.